Alright guys, we're back. Today we're going to be returning to an old standard, my Pokemon armor sets. These have really become a signature collection people associate with my name as an artist, and they're a lot of fun to work on, so I always enjoy making these videos for you guys. I don't want to waste too much time before we dive in, but just because I know people will ask, I want to make sure I answer a lot of the questions people often have in these videos. But because I've answered them in prior videos, I'm just going to copy my list of Q&As from an earlier part.
I work in a program called Procreate. It's an app for the iPad. It's super intuitive and very affordable. I highly recommend it to anyone just breaking into digital artwork. The models you see me drawing over are posed by me in an app called ArtPose. There's a male and female edition, and I recommend both for anyone who doesn't have 24/7 access to nude human models. I would also like to advise any artist not completely familiar with human anatomy to not trace over the models like I do in these videos. Without an internalized understanding about how the human body works, tracing characters will end up looking awkward and uninformed. Learn human anatomy from real humans, not from apps like ArtPose. They're good models, but not great for teaching anatomy. These pieces were all commissioned by individuals who contacted me through my Instagram. I'll link my page here. I take on about 5 to 7 commissions every 2 weeks or so, and it's often first come, first serve. If you'd like to commission a set for yourself, be sure to follow me on Instagram for updates on my availability and prices.
Okay, hopefully that covered all of the major bases. If you have any other questions about specific designs or techniques that you see in this video, leave them down in the comments and I'll try to get to them all. I hope you enjoyed this video, and without further ado, here is the process and commentary for my 3 most recent sets of Pokemon armors. We're starting off with one of the most different armor sets I've done in a while, and a lot of you would probably argue that it's not really armor at all. Either way, this set was commissioned with the intention to replicate the mystery, beauty, and power of the legendary Pokemon Suicune. Despite being a somewhat simple legendary design, Suicune has a lot going for it that makes it iconic, from its colors to its shapes, particularly its large, wavy mane and ribbon-like tendrils. The client who commissioned this piece wanted it to have a mythical, mage-like feel. It made perfect sense to me, as Suicune gives off a very powerful yet reserved aura. Though it's a pure water type, its association with crystals gives it a very icy feel, so I incorporated a lot of greens and blues into a collection of magical-looking crystalline structures on different focal points of the design. I debated on whether the purple mane of the Pokemon would look better as a cape or as hair, but ultimately I decided that hair would give me those fluid waves of movement that I see implied in Suicune's design. I outfitted the set with 2 pairs of lengthy ribbons, one set hanging from clasps in the hair and 2 from armor plates on the hips. By implying motion in the hair and the ribbons, while maintaining a very immobile body with a straight gown, I gave the character a sense of otherworldly power. The ability to manipulate space around her while only barely lifting a finger. This is the presence I believe best represents the Pokemon Suicune. The second set was commissioned to be based off of a Pokemon that I think a lot of you have been waiting to see. Garchomp is probably my favorite Dragon-type Pokemon. It has an incredibly unique design with so many points of influence, from sharks to kaijus to jet planes. I had a million thoughts going through my head about how I could translate this Pokemon into an armor set, but in the end I decided to return to my roots with this one. I looked at medieval European knight armor, specifically the armor worn by jousters. I don't know exactly why, but I just felt like this design needed a giant lance as its weapon. Jousters actually had very different gear than standard knights, and a lot of their armor was made more for show than for function. The important parts were the helmet and the shoulder guard, designed to deflect the impact of a lance slamming into your chest at 40 miles an hour. I decided to integrate the unique shape of Garchomp's head with the elongated design of a jousting helmet and incorporate the iconic shark fin into the deflecting shoulder plate. I also added a rather extraneous arm blade on one of the gauntlets to call back to the Mega Evolution design, as well as bring in a little bit more red to the color palette. I like this piece a lot. It reminds me of the first few sets of armors I did when I first began this series almost exactly a year ago. The last armor set in this video was actually commissioned by the same client who ordered the Garchomp. They wanted Garchomp for themselves and a Togepi for their girlfriend. This was exciting for me because it's not very often that I get commissioned to make an armor set out of a cute little egg of a Pokemon. More often than not, people request the big, complicated final form designs, which are easier to translate into intricate armors. Togepi, on the other hand, has very few visible elements that make up its design, but that doesn't mean it's not iconic. Right away, I knew I needed to take advantage of the red and blue geometric patterns that cover the shell of this Pokemon, and preserve the egg-like shape in the silhouette of the armor. Part of how I achieved that shape was through a small buckler shield that I had the character hold in front of her body. I also added a plume in the shape of Togepi's 3 head spikes. I wanted this armor to have a light, playful feel, so not only did I pose her in a very casual, non-threatening way, I also messed with the design of the helmet and visor to imply almost a smile and a cheery disposition. I went back and forth a while with the weapon choice, but I settled on what I thought would be the most appropriate for the Pokemon, a flail with an egg on the end of its chain. It's cute and deadly, just how I envisioned her. So these are the 3 latest additions to my collection of Pokemon armor sets. What do you guys think? Which one was your favorite? Let me know down in the comments. This was a pleasure as always, and if you enjoyed it as much as I did, be sure to throw the video a like and subscribe if you want to see more. Thank you guys all for watching, stay safe out there, and I'll see you all in the next video.
Ow.